As you all know, here in the Midwest, there is not a lot ready in early spring, but one of my favorites, and you're probably tired of me talking about it, is rhubarb. Yes, rhubarb is so delicious, and while there's not a lot of savory things you can do with it, although I am trying to find a few, there is a lot of sweet, delicious baked goods you can make with it. But one of the problems I find is that it makes a really moist and almost wet cake when you use it. So I'm trying to find ways to get a little bit of that moisture out, and this pound cake is the way to go. This is a candied orange rhubarb pound cake with a citrus glaze, and let me tell you, it is out of this world. Before we get started, I'd just like to prepare the pan. I'm spraying it with a good cooking spray, and then I'm also lightly flouring it. This is just gonna ensure the pound cake comes out very cleanly and has a gorgeous presentation. So just lightly dust the inside with flour and tap out the excess, and then set it aside. To start, it is gonna be a simple pound cake, and then we're just gonna add some great additions to it. You just want to have softened butter. Just make sure to set it out on your counter overnight so it is good and soft. Put it right into your mixer with some sugar. Just mix that on high for about 3 to 5 minutes until it is really light and fluffy. The color is actually gonna change to an extremely light color, and it is gonna be extremely fluffy. A lot of the sugar is gonna start to dissolve, and it is really gonna change texture. I promise you, it is important to do this because it gives so much air and lift to this cake. In a separate container, you can just put together your eggs and an extra egg yolk that is gonna give a little bit more richness and fat to this cake. And I don't think there's enough fat in it. Come on, butter is hardly any fat. Just add some buttermilk to the eggs and the yolk, and a little vanilla. You know vanilla in baked goods is so delicious, and with rhubarb, it is essential. Just mix that together and then set it aside. I like to sift my dry ingredients just to make sure they're really well incorporated and there are no lumps. Some flour, a little bit of baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Sift that together, and then we're ready to add them. You want to alternately add the wet and dry ingredients, starting and ending with the dry. So the dry is going to be about 3 additions and the wet 2. This is going to really help it mix in evenly, and yes, it does make a difference. I know a lot of us skip this part of the recipe, but believe me, it's worth it. With the mixer running on low, add your first third of the dry ingredients, then half of your liquid ingredients. Let that mix together, then add another third of your dry, the rest of your wet. Let that mix together, and then finish with your dry, and let that get incorporated until just incorporated. To finish this cake, we're gonna do 2 of my favorite additions, rhubarb and candied orange. For the candied orange, I put some water and some sugar on the stove to come to a simmer. I thinly sliced an orange, making sure there were no seeds, and then with the simmering water and sugar mixture, I added the orange and cooked it until it was lightly tender, 10 to 15 minutes. Once tender, I removed it from the heat and let it cool down to room temperature before chopping and adding to the pound cake. And I'm doing a little bit of a trick with the rhubarb to make sure some of that extra moisture comes out. I chopped the rhubarb, put it in a colander, sprinkled over a little salt, let extra water and moisture drain off, then I rinsed it with some clean water and drained it in some paper towel to get out all the extra moisture. Once it is thoroughly mixed in, just pour it into the prepared pan, smooth out the top, and then tap a few times hard against the counter. This just ensures that any air bubbles get out so you don't have any big air pockets in your cake once it is made. And then put it right into your preheated oven. This is gonna bake for quite a while, but it is so worth the wait. It's really dense, so that's why it takes longer to bake. But believe me, it is gonna become golden brown, domed, and delicious. Once it is baked and a skewer comes out clean, remove it from the oven and let it cool in the pan for 10 to 15 minutes. You will know it's ready to come out of the pan because during that cooling process, the cake is gonna actually pull away from the sides of the pan slightly. And then it should come right out easily. That is why we floured the pan also. Let it cool on a baking rack and prepare your glaze. The glaze is so simple, but it really finishes this off. I am using some of that simple syrup that I had left over from my oranges and mixing it with some powdered sugar. Just whisk that together until it's smooth. I like to finish this off with a few extra pieces of candied orange because there are extra, and come on, I think it is beautiful and it tastes amazing. It's actually like candy. Serve it whole, slice it up for people. This is gonna be one of your favorite go-tos this spring. It's rhubarb, but without the extra moisture and dense texture you sometimes get, and all the sweetness of amazing orange. I can't wait for you to try this pound cake, and I think it is gonna be one of your favorites. If you agree, make sure to like this video by clicking like below and subscribe to the Gray Boxwood channel. We love to have you become part of the larger family, and I love to hear from all of you. Thanks for watching.